I'm Yashika Tomar, Assistant Professor in Faculty of Pharmaceutical Sciences at Jyoti Vidyapeeth, Women University. So in today's session, we'll be continuing our previous topic, that is pharmaceutical powders, in which we have covered the introduction and the advantages, as well as the disadvantages of this particular dosage form. Further, as I've already told you that the pharmaceutical powders are classified into 5 different categories. The first one is bulk powders for internal use. The another one is bulk powder for external use. The third is simple and compound powders for internal use. Other are the powders that are packed in sachets or capsule. And the last one are the powders that are compressed directly. So in today's session, we'll be going into the very first category of the powders, that is bulk powders for internal use. So the powders that come into this category has to be the drugs that does not require the accuracy of the dose, because as the name suggests, bulk powders, they are supplied in a wide-mouthed bottle, from which what is the reason that they are not divided into a particular doses and supplied into a one whole bottle is that it will be easy to remove the spoonful of the material so that the patient can administer the powder himself. Also, as the accuracy doesn't required, so the very first condition that comes into this category is that the drugs which are non-potent can only be used in this category, because as we know that potent drugs are the one which has a very less dose. As what is the reason that it has a very less dose? Because of its less therapeutic window. That is, only a bit more of the drug, if administered above the therapeutic window, it will cause toxicity. So the example of the powder that comes into this category is rhubarb, which is used as laxative. Coming to the second classification, which is bulk powders for external use. As the name suggests, it is also the bulk powders, that is, they are also dispensed in wide-mouthed bottles, but they are the ones which are used externally, that is, they are not orally administered. So the very first type of powders that come into this category are dusting powders, and they are further classified into 2 different types. The very first is medical dusting powder, and the second one is surgical dusting powder. Both the categories are for external application, that is, they are not administered orally. Another point that has to be maintained with these powders are that they have to be in a very fine state, because we have to avoid the local irritation whenever we are applying externally, right? Also, how to be sure that your powder is in a very fine state, that is, it needed to be passed through a sieve number of 80 or 120, which also increases the effectiveness of the powder. How could you say that it increases the effectiveness of the powder? Because we are aware that as the surface area increases, because of the increase in the particle size, effectiveness of a particular drug when applied over the surface of the skin or the topical application, it will definitely increases the drug release from that particular dosage form, right? For also the one warning that need to be considered while preparing or formulating a particular dusting powder, which is of 2 further categories, that it has to be sterilized, that is, it has to be pathogenic free. The difference between the two, that is surgical or medical dusting powder, is that medical dusting powder are used for superficial application, and the surgical dusting powder are the one that can be applied to the body cavity or the umbilical cord of the infants. If we go for the example of the dusting powder that are in use, let's just consider the one with the salicylic acid, that is antifungal, the powder that has a antifungal property. The formula of that will be talc, starch, zinc oxide and salicylic acid. It could be differ in range or the ingredient formula as per the need, but in this particular formula, the zinc oxide acts as astringent or antiseptic, as well as the salicylic acid here is the main component of this particular formulation, which acts as an or we can say fungicidal or antifungal properties. It has a proper antifungal properties in it. So this is the two further categories that we have discussed in this particular session. We'll be going forward with the classification in our next session. Thank you.